The Attitude Era without the European title is like Christmas presents without bows. Those props aren't really required or super important, but it just wouldn't be the same without them. In its 5.5 years of existence, the European Gold was a mid-card belt without much of a hook. It didn't have the history or prestige of the IC title, nor was it specific to a weight class, gender, or style of match. Instead, the European title was kind of a vice intercontinental belt, as while the IC belt was usually reserved for the upper mid-card, the European title could boost an upstart mid-card via a golden affectation. This isn't to say that only deep card wrestlers held the title. Quite a few top dogs have reigned as European champion too. 10 of the 27 title holders have gone on to enter WWE's Hall of Fame, and many more are worthy candidates based on promotional criterion. To put it another way, the 27 men who have been European champion represent a who's who of WWE history from February 1997 to July 2002, a diverse range of talents and personalities from one of the company's most celebrated eras. Let's take a look back at those 27 champions, recall their time with the European Gold, and see where they've all ended up. Mason Ryan, Stevie Ray, Earthquake, Alundra Blaze, Norman Smiley, Zach Gowen, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ahmed Johnson, Tory Wilson, Buff Bagwell, Robert Gibson, Dave Taylor, Terry Taylor, and Godfather's Holmes. Dwayne Gill, Adam Bomb, Michael Hayes, Cor Von, S.A. Rios, Jim Manai, the manager from Kai and Tai, Jim Powers, Francine, Jack Swagger, Mean Gene, Fat Chick Thriller, Duke the Dumpster, Oklahoma Manta. What happened to that wrestler? Some were main eventing, which leaves me lamenting. What happened to that wrestler? Some since long forgotten, but their memories live on. Davey Boy Smith. There was no more appropriate representation for the European title in 1997 than the man known as the British Bulldog. His tournament final victory in Berlin over brother-in-law Owen Hart rates amongst the greatest matches in the history of Monday Night Raw, giving the championship quite the auspicious start. Sadly, Davey Boy Smith passed away from heart failure in May of 2002 at the age of 39. Shawn Michaels. HBK's victory over Smith at the one-night-only pay-per-view left a sour taste for many for reasons that really run the gamut. The fact that Michaels did little to nothing with the secondary title in the months ahead only bothered fans more, and marked a sharp downturn from the championship's promising beginning. Today, Michaels helps out with the future of WWE, training prospects at the Performance Center while helping produce NXT behind the scenes. Triple H. Boy, if you thought the manner in which Michaels won and held the European title was insulting, check out how he lost it. After 3 months of dragging it around like an unwanted burden, Michaels lost it to teammate Triple H in a farce of a match on Raw. Helmsley, of course, as the founder and overseer of NXT, as well as WWE's Executive Vice President of Global Talent Strategy and Development. Owen Hart. Helmsley's ensuing rivalry with Owen marked the first time in the belt's year of existence that two men were willing to battle over and over again over the championship. Naturally, Owen's initial winning of the title came over a Triple H doppelganger played by Goldust, but such was life in the Attitude Era. Tragically, Owen fell to his death at Kansas City's Kemper Arena while making an entrance at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in 1999 at the age of 34. D'Lo Brown. And now a champion that Europe could truly be proud of. In fact, D'Lo is one of two individuals that held the European title a record 4 times. The chest protector wearing Nation Enforcer saw his stock rise upon first becoming European champion in 1998, and he ran with the theme, claiming cities like Warsaw, Milan, and Helsinki as hometowns. Today, Brown is both an announcer and backstage producer for Impact Wrestling. X-Pac. The ongoing wars between the Nation and DX matched the deceptively agile Brown up with the frenzied strikes of Sean Waltman, making for some of the better sleeper bouts of the era. X-Pac claimed the European title twice in 1998, beating Brown on both occasions, and reigned with the belt into 1999. A podcaster in recent years, Waltman retired from the ring in 2019, but as of 2020 was mulling a possible comeback. Shane McMahon. Non-wrestler McMahon scored what was considered a major swerve-tastic upset when he pinned X-Pac in a tag team match to become European champ. But since he won the title in weaselly fashion, it wasn't a big deal because they'd never booked the Sultan of Sweat to be invincible or anything, right? Right? In addition to being a minority owner of WWE, McMahon is also the executive vice chairman of Ideanomics. Mideon. After WrestleMania 15, Shane retired the European title, only for it to become unretired when Ministry member Mideon found it while rooting through Shane's travel bag. 3 months later. That's head-spinning enough without the notion that this made the eyeball-toting Phineas Godwin the European champion somehow, but such was life in the Attitude Era. Retired from wrestling since 2006, Dennis Knight is now a chef in Clearwater, Florida. Jeff Jarrett. One of the more forgettable European title wins kicked off the 1999 SummerSlam, despite it being part of a double title change. Jarrett upended D'Lo Brown to win both the Intercontinental and European Championships to begin the August Spectacular, thanks to an assist from Mark Henry, who double-crossed his longtime partner. After many years estranged from WWE, Jarrett returned to the company in early 2019 and works backstage as a producer. Mark Henry. Jarrett merely gifted the European title to Henry on Raw the night after SummerSlam, choosing instead to be a one-belt man. Another belt handed over, but such was life in the Attitude Era. This marked the only championship Henry held until 2008, when the ECW title became the first championship he actually won in a match. Henry presently works for AEW in various capacities, and is one of the rotating co-hosts on Busted Open. Val Venus. Venus won a triple threat match over Brown and Bulldog at the 1999 Armageddon pay-per-view in what would have ultimately been a throwaway reign, if not for one little detail. The man he lost it to was winning the first of many accolades in WWE, and Venus was but the impetus. Outspoken on numerous political and social matters, Sean Morley is also a cannabis advocate and works at a marijuana dispensary in Mesa, Arizona. Kurt Angle. In the year 2000, Angle took WWE by storm, winning at times that year the promotion's world and intercontinental titles, as well as the King of the Ring tournament. But it all began with the European title, which he defeated Venus for on an episode of SmackDown that February. All too recently a WWE producer in the year following retirement, Angle was released by the company in April 2020, though he's made some appearances since. Chris Jericho. Despite capturing the title on the grand stage of WrestleMania 2000, Jericho is one of the shortest-lived European champions of all time, dropping the gold one night later on Raw. He never circled back to try and regain it either, making it one of the more random WrestleMania title switches ever. Today, Jericho is still a major presence in All Elite Wrestling. Eddie Guerrero. Jericho's loss was Guerrero's gain, as not only did Latino Heat walk away with the gold, but he was also joined by a suddenly smitten Chyna. It was in this role of comical womanizer that Guerrero truly began to flourish as a character, picking up quirks that would stay with him in the coming years. Sadly, Eddie Guerrero passed away in November of 2005 of heart failure at the age of 38. Percy Saturn. Guerrero lost the title to one of his former Radical teammates, though Saturn's time as champion didn't quite have the same pizzazz. In fact, while holding the championship going into SummerSlam 2000, the only use for Saturn on that night was as a cornerman for Terry Runnels in her latest battle with Stacey the Cat Carter. After years of suffering through drug addiction, Perry claimed in 2019 to now be drug-free, but still mends from traumatic brain injuries sustained during his career. Al Snow. Snow did his best to put his own spin on the European title, albeit comedically, as he dressed in tunes with the countries he represented, even if he did mistake Greece for the similarly named musical. Bonus points for Snow for bringing a portrait of David Hasselhoff to the ring, once more proving Norm Macdonald's theory that Germans love David Hasselhoff. Now in his 50s, Snow is the owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling, where he trains wrestlers and promotes events. William Regal. You know who didn't care much for Snow's irreverent tributes to Europe? Sir William Regal, that's who. So incensed was Regal by Snow's Count Chocula-centric salute to Transylvania that he had no choice but to beat him within an inch of his life for the belt. In all, Regal proudly reigned as European champion 4 times, tying D'Lo's record. Regal can be found on NXT broadcasts as brand GM and serves as WWE's Director of Talent Development and Head of Global Recruiting. Crash Holly. After Bulldog and HBK's victory in 1997, Crash became the only individual since then to capture the European title in Europe. Everyone's favourite super heavyweight hardcore champion defeated Regal at December 2000's Rebellion pay-per-view in Sheffield, England, only to drop it back to Regal 2 nights later on Raw back in the States. Sadly, Michael Lockwood passed away in November 2003 from an intentional drug and alcohol overdose at the age of 32. Test. By 2001, the European title was mostly an inferior intercontinental title, unless it was in the hands of a champion like Regal, whom the championship felt like a proper fit on. Case in point, Test defeated Regal for the strap that January, and his 2 months plus as champion were largely unmemorable, aside from the loss to Guerrero at WrestleMania X7. Unfortunately, Andrew Martin passed away from an accidental drug overdose in March 2009 at the age of 33. Matt Hardy. With all due respect to the creator of the Broken Universe and his many wrestling accomplishments, who actually remembers Hardy reigning with the European title for 4 whole months in 2001? It marked the belt's second longest singular reign, only behind Bulldog's inaugural reign, though Hardy's run wasn't exactly known for the frequency of his title defenses. Big Money Matt's still going strong today in AEW. The Hurricane. At least the end of Hardy's reign proved memorable, as a match with Alliance enemy Gregory Helms marked the debut of the masked stranger known as the Hurricane. But we at Cultaholic would never question the moral fortitude of our diligent black and green knights. When he's not burying idiots on Twitter, Helms works backstage at WWE as a producer. Bradshaw. Recalling every WWE title change during the Invasion era, as well as the order of occurrence, would be enough to induce an aneurysm in most people. Case in point, remember when Bradshaw throttled Hurricane to become European champion on an episode of Raw in October 2001? You goddamn liar, no you do not. While contributing occasionally to WWE Today, John Layfield is Senior Vice President of Northeast Securities and is also a financial analyst for several cable news programs. Christian. The deluge of title changes, for the seeming sake of them, continued with Christian defeating Bradshaw 8 nights later at a SmackDown taping. But keeping in tradition of the belt's almost comical devaluation, due to time constraints, the title change was never even aired on that week's SmackDown, and was only explained in clip form. Yes, really, but such was life in the post-Attitude Era. Christian made his full-time return to wrestling at the 2021 Royal Rumble, but now wrestles for All Elite Wrestling. Diamond Dallas Page. When Page won the championship in January of 2002, he was acting as a perpetually positive motivational speaker, a role that carried him to the end of his full-time wrestling days just months later. It may not have been DDP's wrestling peak, but the tones of the role proved relevant in his next walk of life. Today, Page is the man behind the acclaimed DDP Yoga Fitness program, and also does motivational speaking engagements. Spike Dudley. It may have felt like a random title change, but when you take the historic beatings that Spike had in his career, you deserve all the arbitrary gold you can get. Here, Spike outsmarted Regal with the old hidden Nux trick, and even got a 1-month European title run out of it. Retired since the mid-2010s, Matthew Hyson is now a financial transition specialist at Merrill Edge in Lincoln, Rhode Island. Jeff Hardy. He'd already won, or would go on to win, virtually every championship available to him under WWE's roof, so it only made sense that Hardy added the European to his collection weeks before its demise. Hardy made the last ever pay-per-view title defense of the strap, retaining over Regal at the 2002 Vengeance pay-per-view. At 43, the death-defying Hardy is still going strong, wrestling for WWE. Rob Van Dam. The European title met its end on the July 22nd, 2002 edition of Monday Night Raw in, of all places, Grand Rapids, Michigan. The belt was to be unified with the Intercontinental title, and it was there that IC champion and home state hero Van Dam defeated Hardy in a 7-minute ladder match to end the European title lineage. Still semi-active today at age 50, the innovative Van Dam parted ways with Impact Wrestling in September 2020.